Hi, everybody. I'm Nancy from Desert Haven Enterprises, and I help people find work. Last week, I took someone to a job interview, and one of the very first questions that the interviewer asked my client was, do you know what star stories are, and can you answer the questions in the form of a star story? And I said, wow, I've been teaching on star stories for years, and so this was the first time ever that the interviewer actually requested that the answers be given in that format. So I thought I'd do another refresher course. There's lots of information on the internet about star stories, but here's my take on it. Here we go. Star stories, using the STAR method to answer job interview questions. Using the STAR method will help you give an organized, specific, thoughtful, and clear answer to most questions. What kind of questions? The ones that start with tell me about a time, describe a time, give me an example of a time. They want to hear a story in the STAR format, like a star story. Even if they don't request the star story, it's still a great idea for giving organized and specific answers to interview questions that will give the interviewer an idea of what kind of worker you are. What does STAR mean? The S stands for situation. Where you were working and what were you doing? Think of a situation in which you were involved at work that had a positive outcome. You want to make sure that the result was good, because we're going to get to that in a minute. Where were you working? What was the situation? Something that has a positive outcome. What was the task involved? What was everybody working on? Including you, what was your action? Specify the action that you took in the situation to complete the task and achieve the results. So that's where your part of it comes in, and be specific. And we're going to talk about more about that later. Sorry. And then the results. What were the results that followed due to your actions? The satisfaction of the customer or the client, or it was a safe workplace, or you cleared up a safety hazard and no one slipped and fell. You got everything done on time. You got everything done early. There's lots of different things it could be, but that's the positive outcome that we were talking about a minute ago. What was the positive outcome? What was the result of your actions in that situation? It's going to be 3 or 4 sentences long. Where you were working, the tasks that were being done, the action that you took, and then the results of those actions. That's what STAR means. And I've got a whole bunch of tips and tricks about how to put this into play. Here we go. You want to create your brief STAR stories before your interviews, right? So you have them handy. These STAR stories should demonstrate your teamwork abilities, your initiative, your planning, your commitment, your problem solving. You should have 2 or 3 stories lined up. The most basic ones are safety, teamwork, and customer service. So if you had 3 stories lined up where you went above and beyond the call of duty in any of those areas, you want to jot those down. Don't try to memorize the whole answer, but have them ready. So when you go to the interview, you go, oh yeah, there was this time where I worked at this place. And you want to be very specific about where you worked, what you did, how you contributed to the positive outcome of that situation. Demonstrate your teamwork, your initiative, that you took it upon yourself to get something done. Maybe you didn't have to be told to do it. They like to hear that. Try to be as relevant as possible to the new job, right? So if your story can match up at all with what they're doing at the new business where you're going to, or you're interviewing at that moment, you want to be as relevant as possible. Something is relevant if it's appropriate or connected to that job interview that you're in with that company that you're visiting that day. Connected to them somehow. Relevant means things are helpful and on point. Relevant means there's a match between what you've done before and that job interview. Be prepared to provide examples of the results of your actions. We're going to talk about that some more. Be specific in your stories. Don't be general. Employers want to know what you did or what you would do in a specific situation, so you want to be specific in your answers. And that means telling where you were working, the exact kind of place, not just I was mowing the lawn, but where were you mowing the lawn? Not just I was mopping, but where were you mopping? Not just I was running a cash register, but where were you running the cash register? They want to know what you did and where it was, and be very specific about what you were doing. Specific means detailed or exact, particular details, an in-depth description of those details, and a complete description of those details. Specific never sounds like whatever, whenever, anywhere, any of those kinds of words, but the place, who you were working with. The more details you can add to the story, the more believable it's going to be, that you're not just making it up. The better you tell your story, the more believable it's going to be. Use specific numbers or details about the goal that was reached. Like, we got done an hour earlier than we needed to get done, or we helped 1,000 customers that day, and it was the first time we'd ever helped that many customers. When you can add numbers or specific details about the goals, this kind of proves to them that it really happened, and it shows your achievements and your accomplishments and the effort and all the hard work you put in on that day at work that you're talking about. Think about the job for which you're being interviewed, and remember what skills are required for that job. So if you can talk about those skills that you already have that you're going to bring to the new job, that's very helpful in a job interview. Read the job description before the interview. Seriously, read the job description before the interview. Sometimes you can find them online. Sometimes you might have to ask for one. Sometimes you can get a printed copy, but they're usually online. Read the job description before the interview so that you know what you're applying for, and you can ask questions about it, and you'll know what skills you already have because they're listed right there on the job description. You say, oh, I can do all of those things, but you'll know what they're looking for. Identify a few of your strengths and be sure to point them out during your interview using your star stories. What do I mean by that? Identify a few of your strengths. Strengths are your best work skills. If you're awesome at mopping, or awesome on a cash register, or awesome on the phones, or awesome with customer service, you want to be able to talk about those things. Talk about your good attendance and your good attitude. These are things that set you apart from other job candidates. What's so special about you? Those are your strengths. It's not how much you can lift. It's about what an awesome worker you are. Awesome, the word awesome, unfortunately, is not specific enough. Again, you want to give specific examples of your strengths. If you have perfect attendance, you want to talk about that because attendance is important. If you have perfect safety record and you've had safety awards, you want to talk about that if you can fit it in somewhere, because safety is very important. These are strengths that the interviewer wants to hear about you. Before your interview, review your stories. Pull them out and remind yourself, what are your star stories that you have ready to go already? There was the time you helped 1,000 customers. There was a time you helped finish a job an hour earlier than it needed to be. Whatever those stories are for you, your personal star stories, get them out and remind yourself before the interview. This will help you remember them during the interview and give you confidence during the interview because you already know what kind of things you're going to talk about. This will help eliminate fumbling, like me, for words or awkward silences in the interview. We don't want awkward silences. Here's a few examples of star story answers. See if you can recognize the situation, task, action, and result. The first one. I was gathering carts in the parking lot at Target, and a customer was walking in with 3 kids and a large box like she was returning something. I stopped gathering the carts and offered her a cart to help her with her kids. She was grateful and happy and safer too. Safer too. The next one, I was working at McDonald's when a customer came in and handed me a cup saying, "I ordered Diet Coke. This is not diet." I didn't argue with the guy. I apologized to him and immediately poured him a new Diet Coke. He said thank you, and he told my manager how pleasant I was. Isn't that nice? This one time when I was working at a lawyer's office, a client came in and told us that she needed some documents finished by the next morning. They were very important. I offered to stay late that night, and we got the documents finished on time. My boss was very thankful, and the client was very happy. And one more. I was sweeping at an apartment complex, and one of the residents asked me to help her with her trash bags. This isn't part of our regular job, but she was elderly, and it was no trouble for me to take her bags to the chute. She thanked me and offered me a tip, but I refused. I just like helping people. Recap. What does STAR mean? The situation. Talk about the situation where you had a positive outcome. Some work situation from your work where you were the star of the show. The task, what were you guys working on? The action, what part of it did you help with yourself? And then what was the awesome result of that situation? The results are easy. It's usually a happy customer, safe work environment, a project that got done quality and fast, earlier than expected, things like that. The result is important. A lot of people skip that in their answers, like just assume that the interviewer knows what the result was, but don't assume that they know that. So situation, task, action, and results. It's just a 2 or 3 sentence answer to a question that tells a little story from your own work experience. Situation, task, action, and results. 2 or 3 sentences that tell a little story about your work experience from your own personal work experience. All the interviewers expect it, and in my case, one of them even asked us to answer that way. So it's important that you know this stuff. It's important that you're ready for a job interview when you go out there, because you're awesome and you're going to get a job. When you use the STAR method, you highlight your accomplishments and skills and show the employer what a star you are. Thank you so much for watching. See you next week.